students. Let's discuss methods of protecting networks, part of topic 4, 4.2.1, under Edexcel GCSE Computer Science. Okay, so there are different considerations here. Access rights is one. Physical security. Firewalls, which can block sort of ports on a computer for incoming and outgoing traffic. So physical could be things like locks, keypads, those kind of things. Barriers, literal barriers, biometrics, things you might get when you're accessing, like going to your workplace. And access rights could be to do with read-only files, that kind of thing. Different user permissions, and there could be restrictions on certain folders. So let's have a look at some exam style questions here. Okay, so a factory has 2 file servers installed in an office. A CCTV, closed circuit television monitors the factory. Explain one other method of physical security. So we just had a little talk about those. You could have biometrics, I think that would be a good one. Scanners, put on the door. So I think that's enough for 1 mark. 2, because it's got to explain, to prevent unauthorized access. Don't just give the simplest answer. Always link it, especially if it's explaining. 2 marks here. But loads of other things. Alarms, server assets could have security tags, ID cards. Think of all the different things that companies do. Little AirTag things. There are all sorts of things you could do. Warning posters. There's a lot there this factory could install as physical. Right, discuss methods a movie streaming company, for example Netflix, could use to secure its network. Answer could include. So if they say could include, start with these 3 bullet points and try to put 2. You've got your 6 marks right there. So have 2 things for each one. That's probably a good approach, isn't it? So how could we approach this? Right, so physical access, and the last one could be like firewall. So it's asking you about the things we started off discussing, isn't it? All those 3 things here. All right. So because it's a 6 marker, there's so many things we could say. The movie streaming company should enforce strict access control to determine who can log on to its network. Okay, each time when someone attempts to log in, their credentials are checked against the database. Are they meant to be? Are they the employee, for example? So are they meant to be there? Do they have access? Let's talk about physical. So it's the physical, access, and firewall. Those are 3 facets of this. So there could be physical security. So people are only allowed to enter certain areas, such as rooms with file servers. Might have like special biometrics on them. You can't. No one can just go in. Only certain people are allowed in, maybe with a special ID tag. Physical security, like security guards, fences, the machine storing the movies, and it could be locked in a room, with limited access. There could be an access system on the door, so you have to tag, like schools to have, where the teachers have to sort of use their card to log in. But biometrics, so that's physical security is very easy to do there. Access could be to do with who can log into the network, what are their permissions, are their credentials high enough to access certain things, are they on a database, access controls could have certain tiers for the employees of what they're allowed to be able to do. And as an administrator can set those up ahead of time. They can work on those. So the person with the highest privileges would be the manager overseeing it, and a firewall can act as a barrier between the network and the internet. Maybe there could be like hardware firewalls at entry points to the network on a company-owned device. They could, like a skybox might have a special type of filtering system to stop unwanted traffic. Rules can be custom suited to the streaming, like they can check for certain behavior patterns, or VPN usage or suspicious sort of usage, downloading viruses or anything else. So there's plenty to get 6 marks on that one, I would say. Plenty to get there. Firewalls essentially block. It's like having, each brick in a wall. Let's think. A building with lots of doors, right? If you've got the doors either open or closed, and if the doors are open, you can go into every room. So if it's a hotel and all the doors are open, you can go into everyone's hotel room. But sometimes you might not want to have access to certain rooms. Maybe people have been occupying those rooms, or there's a guest suite, or you're not meant to go into the room. So firewalls can kind of close off certain areas and passages and doors to people, and it's where all those protocols and services work. So port 80 is the main port used for web traffic, and if you close that off, you're not getting access to the internet easily. Similar with emails, or SMTP or FTP. 21 and 22 are the ports for FTP and SFTP. If you don't want FTP to work on it, you can literally just cut off port 21, and that's the sort of the default port that people would look for to get file transfer protocol working. So you can turn that off. So hopefully that's enough to get through protecting networks. Just use your common sense for the physical one, and think of your situation at school. Like, you all have access rights, and it makes sense that the teachers have more access rights, and then the IT professionals have even more access rights. All right, well done.